Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to another video. It's been a while, though not as bad as other times. Still, I did mention I was going to do a video, so why don't we finally rank Roald? So, a recent video was me talking about enjoying middle grade fiction, and I do enjoy middle grade fiction a lot. To the point where I bought this 15 book collection. It's pretty big, it's pretty hefty. Not all the books are super long. None of the books are super long, by the way. But I did enjoy it a lot. So, out of the 15 books, these are, I think, one of the most common books. I'm sure there are books that are missing here from Roald Dahl. If there are any, by all means, use that sexy comment section down below and let me know what I've missed and what I should read that is not here. But without further ado, let's do this. My top 15, or my 15 favorite Roald Dahl books. So book number 15 would be Ezio Trot. I've seen people pronounce this different ways. I haven't heard the audio recording, so I'm not sure how you pronounce it. This would be number 15 in my list. It is fun, it is quirky, it is kooky, it is loony, like many Roald Dahl things, but first off, it's in terms of lessons, it's a bit questionable. This old man was pining for a woman, and beyond pining for a woman, he lied to her about her tortoise. If that's a spoiler, it's a short book. The moral quandaries of this book are nebulous at best. Is it a fun read? Yes. Is it the best from Roald Dahl? No. So why don't we go to the next one? Second would be the Twits. This is a weird book because you can divide it in two. It is the first half is kind of fun, extremely gross, but very fun. And the second half is this weird tale that has a monkey and stuff like that, and it's just weird. I don't know how effective it is as a narrative. I don't know how compelling it is as a narrative either. But the first half, if you're looking for a way to gross people out, it's a masterclass in terms of middle grade literature. Is it fun? Yes. Is it one of the most compelling reads? No. That is why it's ranked number 14. So if this is 14, this is 13. 13 would be The Magic Finger. In terms of questionable titles, that's high up there. That said, again, when they rank over the 10 mark, it's because something's a bit off. And in terms of this story, again, it's just off. It's like, what's going on here? And a magic finger. And is it whimsical? Yes. Is it very Roald Dahl? Yes. Is it the best? No. This is a ranking. And because it's a ranking and there's books that are a little better, it's not going to reach the top. And I could reminisce and I can rummage and I can do other stuff about it, or I can leave it at this. And this is the type of book that I would leave at this. And this would be number 12. Number 12 is George's Marvelous Medicine. The randomness of the magic finger is one thing. The randomness here is another thing, because it reminded me when I was a kid and I would make spells and potions in the toilet. Meaning I would take different shampoos, bubble bath, conditioner, mouthwash, and stuff like that, and do my little... I would do something in the cauldron, not something nasty. And then I would flush it. But this takes it a notch up. In terms of listing things in an interesting way, this is a very fun read. Again, fun, random, questionable morality again, in terms of George and what he does, because George doesn't get along well with a particular adult in his life, and she needs medicine, and George gives her the medicine, and weird stuff happens. At number 11, The Giraffe and Nepal and Me. The ability of Roald Dahl to do quirky, light, random, fun, whimsical books is very high, and this is a great example of it. It is number 11 for good reason, and it is over the other books for a good reason. It made me smile a lot, and I suspect I'm not going to be the only one. Plus, it has the collaboration of a giraffe and a pelican, and there's a monkey. And if you have that combination, good stuff is going to happen. Again, these books are so short that if I go into any sort of detail, I might offer a spoiler, because again, this is what? It's not long. It's like 71 pages, and 71 pages with images and stuff. By the way, the illustrations by Quentin Blake, that guy's so good, and these are so fun. Really enjoy it. Really a smile-inducing book. Even the ones that I like the least, I still recommend. So if you see that collection, which I got at Costco for like, I don't know, 20 bucks of that, it's totally worth your dollar. So what starts off our number 10? Number 10 is Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, and I think a couple of people will be surprised, and I think the people that will be most surprised are the ones who haven't read the book, because they'll go like, isn't that the sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Which it is. Is it good? Yes. Is it Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Hell no, by no means. It's weird. And this is being a fan of Roald Dahl, but when you look at Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the universe created there and the Chocolate Factory itself and what you explore there and the stuff that you explore in this book, you meet aliens and you have to deal with the President of the United States and stuff like that. Is it a compelling read? If you didn't have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it would be a compelling read. The good thing of this book is that it doesn't have a movie reference, and I don't think it's ever going to get one because it's not as good as the first one and it's not as visually compelling as the first one is, even though they go to outer space and stuff like that. Just because something, a story goes into outer space does not make it more compelling than something that's wacky, especially something that takes place in a chocolate factory. So this would be number 10. Did I enjoy it? Yeah. Can I go more in depth in it? Yes, but that's what the comment section, that sweet comment section is down below. So if you think this or any of the books should have been ranked higher or lower, you can disagree or agree in the comment section. But for now, let's go to book number 9. Danny, the Champion of the World. It's another weird Roald Dahl book. We haven't gotten into the ones that I go like, yeah, most people are going to enjoy this. It's random, and maybe I needed to poach pheasants to understand it a bit better. I can appreciate the relationship between Danny and his father, and there are some moments that it's fun. But at the end of the day, when I finished this book, I was like, not bad, but more than anything, I think confused, because I think my expectations were way higher for this book, which is contrary to what happened with other books that I'm going to be ranking. So, is it a good book? Yes. Is it the best? Hell no. What? If this is 8, then what is 7? This is 8. This is 8, and this is a lot of fun. The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Unlike Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, having a movie here, the adaptation is a bit unfair because the adaptation is adapted by Wes Anderson, and the movie is very different from the book in terms of everything. It's a very Wes Anderson movie. This is not a very Wes Anderson book. Is it a fun book? It is a very fun book. It is like the Three Little Pigs facing the three wolves, the three bad wolves, because there are 3 owners of 3 farms who are assholes. One's a drunkard, one's just bitter, the other one's just a greedy, obese man. you know, one thing is to be obese, another thing is to be obese because you're greedy, and he's that type. And Roald Dahl does double down on being mean towards mean people or mean characters. But it's here's where we start getting quirky and funny and loony and loopy, and the solutions, you go like, how did he come up with that? But it does feel like that fairy tale or nursery rhyme that made it into a book. And it is a very fun and compelling read. I think it's refreshing. I think it's silly. Is it the best though? No. It's still a little low, but we're getting to the midpoint, and we are already hitting really good books, because even though this is a short read, I consider it a really good book. So if this is ranked 8, what is 7? Here's where people are going to start disagreeing with me and me ranking this 7 and other books higher. But the wonderful thing about BookTube and reading in general is that we can have an opinion and we can disagree and still have a great conversation. So the BFG is random, but it's cute, and the giant survives drinking fizzy soda and eating stuff that, you know, eating pickles or cucumbers that are gross. But the big friendly giant is big and friendly and sweet. And you know, you obviously root for him because he is the big friendly giant, meaning that the other giants might be big, but they are not friendly at all. They are pretty unpleasant, to put it lightly. Those giants remind me a bit of the giants as described in the wizarding world. You know, they're that type of mean, but even more callous. So it's curious that, or the ones from Jack and the Beanstalk. That giant does hearken to the ones in this one beyond our big friendly giant. Reading this book, I did think of my great grand uncle. We called him Padrino. His name was Avila. Cuban. He had these huge ears, but he was very sweet. I was very fond of him, and the little silly things that the giant gets up to in this book reminded me of him a bit. I have not seen the movie adaptation. I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. You can tell me in the comments if it's worth it or not. And it's one of the most fun ways that I've seen any story use a fart. Normally it's like it's tried and true and just stupid and kind of boring. But in this book, the way that they handled that was kind of funny. Number 6 on my list would be The Witches. I've seen the 90s adaptation of the book, and in terms of the story I like pretty much equally in the movie and the book. They change it in a couple of things, but it's nothing too drastic. The ending though, the ending of the book I prefer a lot more because it feels less forced, more natural, more real. And I actually appreciated that. But this story, I watched Witches when I was a kid, and that kind of creeped me out for a while. And I was always keeping an eye out that any mean old woman would have all her toes. So, you know, that's saying something about some books and middle grade in general, that they connect in a way that is very particular. The story is very unique, and what I really like about the heroes in Roald Dahl stories often is that they're not one note, they're not monochromatic, they're not all good or all bad or other stuff like that. There are levels and there are nuances. Villains are normally very villainous. Sometimes they get an explanation, other times not so much. But I do think that there's a nuance to most characters, and this is no exception. Again, a lot of fun, but even if it's a lot of fun, this is my number 6. So what is number 5? Number 4 and 5 are actually the autobiographies of Roald Dahl, Boy and Going Solo, and in this order. This would be number 4, this would be number 5. Why? Going Solo, you find out some messed up stuff in terms of Roald Dahl's life and how intense it was as an adult, you know, from being a fighter pilot, almost dying and stuff like that, to being chased by tribesmen and stuff that you go like, this guy got a really crazy life. And I read Going Solo before reading Boy, which was an interesting experiment, but it honestly flows better if you read Boy and then Going Solo. Boy is just charming. Kind of explains where Roald Dahl comes from, a lot of his ideas, a lot of those seeds of his more memorable characters, where they come from. And even being autobiographical, I thought they were a very compelling read, even over several of their more well-known books, like The Big Friendly Giant, like The Witches, like Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think that's a testament to being a really good writer. You know, writing an autobiography and beating out some of your best books. Kudos, Mr. Dahl. So that leaves me with my top 3. So what do you think? What could be number 3 for me? Number 3 is me getting a little peachy. This is one of my favorite Roald Dahl books, but just because it's one of my favorite doesn't mean it's my favorite. But I love the characters here. It is the most fantastical of his stories, if you think about it, because there are bugs and there's a spider and there's a worm, and those are the characters that you're dealing with. In most of the other stories, yeah, you're dealing with a fox and stuff like that, at the most with the Fantastic Mr. Fox. Or maybe there's interaction with a pelican, but it's still a pelican, it's still a giraffe, more than a character. Here, the animals are characters, and they're fully fleshed, and they're wonderful, and they're super memorable, and it's super sweet. It is as sweet as a peach. The movie adaptation is absolutely brilliant. The book is absolutely brilliant. It is, to me, this is a good example of what a middle grade book should be in terms of being memorable, you suffering with the protagonist and identifying and rooting for them to be okay, to be safe, and to have a little bit of their house, because, you know, if your house is a peach and there's, you know, plenty to go around, why not have a nibble of a wall? I found that very compelling, even when I watched the movie. Rereading this as an adult, it was a treat for me. It was a treat because the fear that I have when I reread middle grade, or when I read middle grade, is that I'm gonna read it and it's gonna feel clunky and I'm gonna feel old, or something's gonna feel off. And the magical thing of all of these books is that even a 3-star book, I enjoyed it. At no point does anything that Roald Dahl write or did write make me feel old. It makes me happy, it makes me smile, it makes me dream, it makes me go, oh, I had an idea for a story, let me latch on to that. Because if he was able to do that here, I can do something, I can go on my own adventure. And that's what I love about this book. I truly, truly love this book in terms of it being memorable, and when a bad guy gets what they deserve, you know, there's a part of me that smiles a little more wickedly than it should. So there's 2 books left. Most people have seen the other movies, but number 2, what would be? Matilda. I've never watched the movie Matilda. I had never read Matilda until recently. This is a very special book, and Matilda's a very special young lass, and she's a very strong woman, even though she's a girl. It is a compelling narrative. The Trunchbull, man, what a bitch! What a bitch of and mean, just mean, you know, just a bad person, a bad villain, but super memorable. But the amazing thing about Matilda is that even with the shortcomings of her genetic lineage, i.e. her parents, and the problems that they bring along, she is still brilliant. She is still good, even though a little naughty, which most of the characters with Roald Dahl's books are. But even if she's mischievous, she's still this wonderful ray of light. And in terms of female protagonists in a story, there are so many that annoy me. I think Alice from Alice in Wonderland is a bit annoying. I think Dorothy is a bit annoying. I might reread the books and have a different opinion, but right now that's my opinion. But I would rank Matilda with Coraline in terms of a young female protagonist that I think are extremely special and a wonderful example for other kids. I'm not saying that they're saintly. I'm not saying that they're completely virtuous. I'm not saying they are devoid of fault. I'm saying they're real, they are strong, they have will, they have hope, and they have strength that we need more of that. We need more of that, you know, versus false empowerment. True empowerment, inviting, you know, young kids to look at their peers and not always root for the jock or the boy and stuff like that. You know, I've met students like 8, 9, 12-year-olds, and I've met, you know, teen lasses that are so, they're so clear of their vision of what they want to achieve, and it is always refreshing, and it's always encouraging, and it motivates me to write more characters like that. And Matilda is extremely special. Again, I had never read it, and I finished the book, and it was such a satisfying read. Which leaves us one book, and of course, if you're talking Roald Dahl, you're talking about this. Should surprise no one. I love candy. I love chocolate. I review candies and chocolate and different stuff on my Instagram channel, and I will probably do it in other social media channels, so stay tuned for that. This is a book that I've read several times in different times of my life. Whereas The Little Prince, every time I read it, I get something different. Every time I read this, I get the same exact enjoyment. I might not get the surprise because I know what's coming, but I get the enjoyment. It is like Narnia. Every single time I read it, I end up smiling, I end up enjoying, I end up wanting to write more middle grade and more fantastical adventures like that. Willy Wonka is a brilliant character. How he, it's a slasher flick, by the way. In the end, they're fortunately alive, but it's a slasher flick because Wonka picks him off one by one, and then he has creepy minions singing a song about their demise. In terms of the movie adaptation, I am a purist. For me, Willy Wonka is Gene Wilder, and Gene Wilder is Willy Wonka. Johnny Depp gave an interesting take on it, but Johnny Depp was too Johnny Depp in Tim Burton movies, if that makes any sense. I kind of enjoyed it, but nothing like the original. The new one has a darker tone all around, but all that dark tone cannot compete with the messed up boat ride from the original film, which is terrifying. It is terrifying. That said, even though I love the original movie and the second one, I enjoyed it, there's nothing like the book. There will never be anything like the book. And it takes a very special author and a very special book to always deliver absolute reader satisfaction every time you read a book. And I've read this book like, what, 8, 9 times. And every time I read it, I'm smiling at what's gonna come along. So that is my ranking. I will give you here my top 15. What do you think about this list? Do you think this do you think this list makes sense? Do you disagree with it? Would you move something up, move something down? What do you think about my opinions of the characters? I know I didn't go pretty much in depth, but look at how long this video is, and this is me kind of glossing things over. So if you want to have more in-depth conversations, you can write me on Goodreads if you use it for that. You can write me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can write me here in the comment section and we can chat it up. If you want to have me over on your BookTube or AuthorTube channel so that we can talk about middle grade or talk about Roald Dahl and talk about movie adaptations in general, by all means, drop a comment, write me on social media. Until next time, keep reading middle grade, keep young at heart, and peace, love, and mock your olds.